Welcome to Psyche Talks, where we take a deep dive into fascinating topics to help you become truly well-informed.
Hi there.
Today, our mission is really about equipping you with an instruction manual for the most powerful tool you have, your own mind. We're going to unpack how to gain real control over thoughts and emotions. We're drawing insights from a really practical audiobook. It blends psychology, neuroscience, real-world stuff.
Yeah, and so many of us feel kind of stuck in our heads sometimes,
Yeah,
caught in these loops, overthinking, maybe self-doubt, stress,
definitely.
and we often think, oh, I just need more motivation. But the audiobook makes this really powerful point.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not motivation you need most, but more mental control.
That's such a key distinction.
Have you ever felt like your emotions just run the whole day? Or that inner critic just pops up and derails you, even when you know what you should do?
Absolutely. Happens all the time. So yeah, if that sounds familiar, this deep dive is definitely for you. That's the core challenge, isn't it? And we're going to explore exactly how to reclaim that control, starting with something, well, it seems simple, but we often overlook it.
What's that?
That constant chatter inside your head.
Oh, yes. The voice.
It comments, it worries, judges, predicts, just goes on all day long. It's totally normal. Everyone has it. But the audiobook offers this crucial distinction.
And this is foundational, really. The realization that you are not that voice.
Right.
You're the one hearing it.
Yeah.
And that's not just some, philosophical fluff. It's practical.
How so?
Well, if you can observe your thoughts, if you can notice them happening, that inherently means you're separate from them.
Oh,
And that simple act of observation, that's the beginning. That's the doorway to mental freedom.
And it's such a game changer because, like the audiobook points out, just because your brain cooks up a thought,
Doesn't make it fact. Not at all.
imagine if like a friend followed you around all day just saying you're lazy or you're never going to make it.
You'd call them toxic, right? You put up
Maybe.
boundaries.
Exactly. Yet we let our own internal voice just run wild with that stuff unchecked.
And that inner narrator, it's not always you in the truest sense. It's often just this mashup of past experiences, fears, maybe old conditioning, insecurities.
Like old takes playing.
Pretty much, yeah. Replaying old patterns. So the big insight here isn't trying to force it to be quiet. The mind produces thoughts. That's its job.
Okay.
The key is learning to listen without attachment, like watching clouds drift across the sky.
I like that analogy.
They come, they go, but you're the sky, unchanged by the clouds passing through.
That detachment sounds critical, especially when the book mentions estimates of, 60,000 thoughts a day?
It's staggering.
Yeah.
And apparently over 90% are repetitive and often leaning negative.
Wow. So how do you break that? The audiobook must have a tool for that.
It does, and it's surprisingly simple but effective. When your mind starts that negative spiral,
Yeah.
just say to yourself, that's just a thought.
That's just a thought.
Yeah, it's not denial. It's about creating instant distance, like stepping back.
Taking away its power a bit.
Exactly. The audiobook says this actually helps create new neural pathways. You shift from being just a passive receiver of the thought.
To being an active observer.
Precisely. And those labels, the voice sticks on you. I'm not smart. I always procrastinate.
Yeah, those feel so real sometimes.
But they aren't fixed identities. They're just thoughts you've repeated.
Hmm.
And your brain, well, it's neuroplastic. It can literally rewire itself.
Okay, so here's a challenge the book suggests for you listening. For the next 7 days, try to become really aware of your self-talk. Hyper-aware. And when you catch yourself being negative, ask this question. Would I ever say this to someone I truly love?
Ooh, that's a good one.
If the answer's no, then pivot. Replace it. Find something that's actually true and, empowering. Like instead of, I can't do this, maybe this is tough, but I'm figuring it out.
I love that. And this is where practices like, say, meditation come in. Not necessarily as some deep spiritual thing, but more like a mental gym.
Okay, a workout for the mind.
Exactly. Just observing your thoughts in silence, you start to see how wild the mind can be. But you also learn you can just sit with it. You don't have to react.
And that space, that gap between the trigger and the reaction.
That's it. That's where mental control lives. That's where you build it.
So this whole understanding, learning to observe, manage your thoughts, it feels like the first domino.
It really is. The audiobook lays it out clearly. Your thoughts drive your emotions,
Which then drive your behavior.
which shapes your results,
Yeah.
which ultimately creates your life. So yeah, real freedom isn't about silencing the mind completely. It's about choosing not to believe everything it tells you.
Okay, that's a powerful foundation. Let's build on that. The audiobook then moves into emotions, right? which can feel even trickier sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Have you ever felt like super angry about something and then later you look back and think, wow, I totally overreacted?
Yes, many times. Or gotten really anxious about something that, well, it never even happened.
Exactly. Our emotions feel incredibly real, intense even. But the book makes this critical point. Just because you feel something.
Doesn't make it true.
Precisely. There's a massive difference.
And why is that? Why are emotions so convincing but not always accurate?
Well, biologically, our brains and bodies are wired for survival, right? Your limbic system, the emotional brain, it fires up at perceived threats.
The old fight or flight thing.
Yeah. But today, it often reacts to things like a demanding email, or maybe a colleague seems abrupt. It reacts like it's facing a saber-toothed tiger.
It can't always tell the difference between real danger and just, modern stress.
Exactly. The book gives this great example. Imagine feeling anxious, totally distracted all morning because a coworker didn't say hello.
Okay.
Only to find out later they just had headphones in, didn't even see you.
So your whole emotional state was hijacked by a feeling based on nothing real.
Completely unfounded. That's the danger of letting emotions dictate your reality without questioning them.
So the book suggests thinking of emotions more like weather.
Yeah, I love that metaphor. They come, they go. Just because it's raining right now doesn't mean your entire life is falling apart.
The emotion is real, the feeling is there.
Absolutely real as an internal experience.
Yeah.
But the meaning your mind attaches to it, that's where the trickery often happens.
And there's a chemical component too, right?
Hugely important. Emotions are influenced by hormones, how much sleep you got, your blood sugar, hydration, even the weather outside.
So sometimes you feel anxious not because something's objectively wrong.
But maybe just because you didn't sleep well, or you're dehydrated. But your mind hates a vacuum. So it immediately searches for a reason, creates a whole story around that physical feeling.
Making it seem true.
Yeah. And this leads to one of the biggest emotional lies we tell ourselves, according to the book. If I feel it, I absolutely must act on it.
Which isn't true?
Not necessarily. The book argues powerfully against this. You can feel intense anger, for instance, and still choose a patient response. Emotion is a messenger, giving you data.
Not a master you have to obey blindly.
Exactly, you just have to understand it.
What about when emotions feel overwhelming, like you can't think straight?
The amygdala hijack. That's when your fear center, the amygdala, basically overrides your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex.
Leading to those impulsive reactions we regret later?
Precisely. But the key insight from the book is how to bring that rational brain back online.
How do you do that in the moment?
It's surprisingly simple, according to the studies cited. Just naming the emotion. Saying to yourself, or even out loud, okay, I feel overwhelmed right now, or I'm feeling afraid.
Just naming it helps.
Significantly. It seems to create just enough mental space for your rational brain to re-engage. The book talks about emotionally mature people. They feel everything deeply.
But they act with awareness.
Yes, they deliberately create that crucial gap between the feeling and the action.
So the book recommends some questions to ask when a strong emotion hits.
3 really good ones. First, what exactly am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
Get specific. Second, what's the story my mind is telling me about this feeling? Separate the feeling from the narrative.
Got it.
And third, what is actually true in this moment? Ground yourself in reality.
Those sound really useful. They move you from just reacting.
To taking conscious responsibility. Clarity over chaos.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to those mental loops you mentioned earlier. Feeling like your mind is just on repeat.
Oh yeah. Stuck in the same cycles, overthinking, self-doubt. The audiobook really digs into this. Our minds are like these complex machines running on patterns.
And familiar feels safe, right? Even if it's painful.
Exactly. Familiarity keeps us stuck, even in discomfort. And one negative thought often just cascades, piles onto another.
The spiral effect.
Yeah, and you feel trapped really quickly. These loops thrive on repetition and emotion. The more you go down that path, especially with strong feelings attached.
The deeper the groove gets in your brain.
Precisely. But here's the kicker, the really profound truth. You are not the loop.
You're the observer again.
You're the one watching it happen. And that distinction, that separation, it creates the space and the power you need to interrupt the pattern.
So you can't fight the loop directly?
The book says no. Fighting often strengthens it. You interrupt it by becoming aware of it.
Okay, so step 1 is awareness.
Catching it in real time, like, okay, that's the loop again. Just naming it weakens its hold.
Like naming the emotion.
Same principle. Then you interrupt it, break the rhythm somehow. Physically move, stand up, stretch, say stop out loud, take a few deep breaths, or ask a completely different question like, okay, what else could possibly be true right here?
Disrupt the pattern.
Yeah. And then step 3 is crucial. Replace it.
Because the brain doesn't like empty space.
Exactly. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the mind. So once you interrupt, you consciously install a new, more empowering thought. Instead of, I always fail at this.
Maybe this is challenging, but I'm learning and getting better.
Perfect. You're not just saying nice things, you're literally building new neural pathways.
The jungle analogy comes back here, doesn't it?
It does. Your mind is a jungle, thoughts are paths. Keep walking the negative path, it becomes a highway. To change, you have to consciously forge and walk new paths, even if they feel awkward at first.
And this applies to emotional loops, too. Those can be sneaky.
Even sneakier sometimes, like
Yeah.
maybe feeling guilt right after a moment of joy, or shame when you try to rest.
Yes.
The book stresses that discomfort doesn't mean danger. It's often just old programming running. Your job is to update the software.
So the core message isn't about being broken and needing fixing.
Not at all. It's about being freed from these loops that aren't actually you. They're just old habits your brain got really good at. Awareness is the start of that freedom.
Okay, this feels really practical. Now, something that affects us all daily. Focus. Or the lack of it.
Ah, yes, the age of distraction.
Do you ever find yourself just scrolling, and then you look up and think, where did the last hour go?
Guilty as charged. The audiobook argues that in today's world, your ability to focus is maybe more valuable than ever. For success, sure, but also for peace, for happiness.
And it makes a really interesting point. Most of us don't actually have short attention spans.
We have untrained attention.
Right. We've practiced distraction way more than we've practiced focus. We've trained our brains to constantly crave novelty, that next little dopamine hit.
But the good news is, like any muscle, focus can be trained. It can be strengthened. And the transformation, the book says, is genuinely life-changing, being able to work deeply, feel accomplished.
So what's killing our focus? It's not just the devices, is it?
Devices are a big part, but it's also our habits around them. Our brains get hooked on those little dopamine rewards from notifications, emails, social media pings.
Makes real deep work feel boring in comparison.
Exactly. It feels less immediately rewarding. So unless we consciously retrain our brain to find satisfaction in sustained attention, we stay stuck in that shallow cycle.
What does the science say about focus? The book touches on that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Your brain has these two main modes. The default mode network, or DMN, that's for mind wandering, daydreaming, reflecting.
Yep.
And the task positive network, or TPN, that's for directed, focused attention on a specific task. And here's the key. You can't really be in both modes fully at the same time.
So deep focus actually shuts down the mind-wandering part.
Pretty much. It literally quiets that overthinking, ruminating part of the brain.
Yeah.
Which leads to this incredible sense of peace. But it takes time to get there, usually about 15-20 minutes of uninterrupted effort.
So focus isn't just for productivity. It's a mental health tool, too.
Absolutely. When you're truly focused, you're present. Anxiety, worry, overthinking, they fade. It enhances everything.
So that whole idea, oh, I'm just not a focused person.
It's a myth. It's a habit, not a fixed trait. You weren't born distracted, you learned it. And you can unlearn it, or rather, retrain yourself.
So what's the secret then? Is it just gritting your teeth and forcing it?
Actually, no. The book stresses it's less about forcing your brain and more about removing what breaks your focus.
Fewer distractions, more boundaries.
Exactly. Simple things. Phone on airplane mode or another room. Only one browser tab open. Dedicate yourself to one single task at a time. These small boundary decisions add up.
The book uses an analogy here too, right? The magnifying glass.
Yeah, it's a great one. Imagine holding a magnifying glass, steady over paper in the sun. Hold it still long enough. Focus the rays.
And you start a fire.
Right. But most of us keep shifting the glass around, checking email, glancing at the phone. So the fire never ignites. Focus is that steady holding.
That's powerful. So the ability to focus, it's like the foundation for mastering your mind.
Absolutely. Train it like a muscle. Start small, set those boundaries, protect your energy. Once your mind learns to focus like that laser, the book suggests really nothing can stop you.
That steady holding, that focus. It leads perfectly into another idea the audiobook calls your secret weapon.
Yes. The pause.
The power of pause. We've all done it right.
Yeah.
Said something in the heat of the moment we instantly regretted.
Or made an impulsive buy, or sent that email.
Yeah, that split-second reaction felt necessary. But later, Oh, the regret. You wish you'd just paused.
And this section of the audiobook is all about that pause.
Mm.
Just a few seconds,
Yeah.
sometimes. Between the stimulus, what happens to you and your
And
response,
in that tiny space.
lies your freedom, your growth, your control. It's not weakness to pause, it's wisdom.
Because our emotional brain, the amygdala, wants that instant reaction.
It's hardwired for it. But the moment you pause, even just 3 seconds, you give your logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, time to catch up. That small space is where maturity and power live.
The book gives some great examples of this in action.
It does. Like in traffic, instead of raging when someone cuts you off, a 3-second pause can literally save your mood for the rest of the day.
Or in relationships.
Look.
How many arguments could be avoided by just pausing and asking, will what I'm about to say actually help this situation?
Bring us closer or push us apart.
Yeah.
Or even with money, the pause before clicking buy now,
Mm.
asking, do I really need this? Am I just trying to feel better?
It saves you from debt and disappointment.
It really does. And it connects back to mental health. Anxiety, anger, regret. They often bloom in that space where we react before reflecting. The pause helps catch those thoughts before they spiral. Viktor Frankl's quote comes to mind here.
Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That's the absolute essence of the pause.
It doesn't have to be long, right? Not like a full meditation session.
Not at all. The book emphasizes micro moments. You get a rude email, you feel the urge to yell at your kid, you're in a tense meeting, just take 5 seconds. Breathe. Check in.
5 seconds can make that much difference.
Apparently, yes. The book shares this story about a successful CEO whose most valuable habit was mastering 5 seconds of silence before replying in any important situation.
Wow. Why was it so valuable?
It allowed him to see things more clearly, avoid saying things he'd regret, make better decisions consistently. When someone triggers you and you react instantly, they kind of control you, right?
Yeah, you're just reacting to them. But when you pause, you take your power back. You choose.
Okay, so another challenge for everyone listening from the audiobook. For the next week, practice pausing for just 5 seconds before reacting to anything emotional.
Ask yourself, is this reaction helpful? Does it move me towards the life I want? Is this feeling permanent or just passing through?
Watch how it changes things. That's powerful.
And that pause, that conscious choice, it leads naturally into the next big idea.
Yeah,
How to actually rewire your brain, not just react from old patterns.
because we do get stuck repeating the same unhelpful things, don't we?
We do. Our mind is wired for repetition.
Mm.
Familiarity feels safer than the unknown, even if the familiar is painful.
But the exciting part the book emphasizes is neuroplasticity.
Yes, your brain isn't fixed. It's plastic, adaptable. It can be reshaped, rewired, reprogrammed. But it doesn't happen by just hoping.
It takes effort.
Effort, consistency, and awareness.
Huh.
You have to consciously replace the old patterns with better ones.
Back to the forest analogy again.
It's perfect for this. Brain's a forest, thoughts are paths. Walk a path, often it becomes clear, easy. To change, you have to deliberately walk new paths, even when they feel overgrown and awkward.
The book gives personal examples, right? Like changing a morning habit.
Yeah, like maybe instead of grabbing the phone first thing, committed to journaling for just 10 minutes. Slowly, gradually, you rewire the brain to crave that internal clarity over the external buzz. It's slow, steady replacement.
And it's about progress, not perfection.
Absolutely critical. Every single time you choose the new response, even if it's just 1 time out of 10, you weaken the old pathway and strengthen the new one. That 1 time matters.
What about things like self-doubt? Those patterns feel so deep.
Like, I'm not smart enough. Those are deep grooves, often carved years ago. The book says,
Yeah.
pause. Ask, would I say that to someone I love? Then replace it. Not with fluff, but with something grounded in effort, like, I might not know it all now, but I can learn this.
And triggers. Those moments that set off old reactions.
Instead of just reacting, the book suggests using triggers as teachers.
Mhm.
Every trigger, a missed deadline, feeling rejected, it shines a light on where you're still wired to feel powerless or react in an old way. It shows you exactly where you need to focus your rewiring efforts to change the story behind the trigger.
And this connects to identity too, doesn't it? How we see ourselves.
Massively. Identity is fluid, the book stresses. If you see yourself as bad with money, you'll likely act in ways that confirm that. But identity isn't fixed. Every time you act differently, maybe meditate for 5 minutes when you usually wouldn't, you give your brain proof of a new identity.
You act it until it becomes real for your brain.
Exactly. You act it until it sticks. So rewiring is this lifestyle, really. Awareness, interruption, replacement. You are not your past, not your habits, not your first automatic thought.
You are your next choice.
That's the power. Owning that next choice actively rewires your future.
Okay, this internal work is huge. But the audiobook also talks about the external world, right? What we feed our minds.
Yes, what you feed grows.
Hmm.
It's a crucial piece, often overlooked. We focus so much on internal mindset fixes.
But our environment is constantly programming us.
Constantly. What you see, what you hear, your habits, the social media you consume, the people you hang out with, all of that is fuel. It shapes your thoughts and emotions.
Social media gets a mention, I assume.
Oh yeah. It's designed to hijack attention, spark comparison.
Hmm.
You get those dopamine hits. Then often anxiety or feeling less than.
The highlight reels.
Exactly. If you constantly feed your mind curated perfection, you'll struggle to feel enough. The book advises cleaning up your digital diet. Unfollow toxic accounts, set time limits, choose content mindfully.
And the people around us.
Huge influence.
Yeah.
You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. We're emotional sponges. Surround yourself with positive, ambitious people, you tend to rise. If someone constantly drags you into negativity,
It's okay to set boundaries.
it's essential. Love them from a distance if needed, but protect your mental space.
What about our physical space? Desk, room, home.
Signals to your brain. Cluttered desk often equals cluttered mind. Your environment either supports your growth or sabotages it. Cleaning, organizing, designing your space with intention helps your brain feel safer, more focused, more inspired.
And our daily habits are like feeding routines.
Totally.
Yeah.
What is feeding your mind? Checking your phone first thing? Probably feeding anxiety, ending the day zoning out with Netflix and snacks, feeding distraction, maybe low energy. Every ritual moves you closer to or further from self-mastery.
An environment triggers habits, right?
Yes, habits are often automatic loops cued by the environment. So design your environment intentionally. Phone charger outside the bedroom, books on the desk instead of clutter. Make it easy for your desired habits to happen.
Even our mental conversations count as feeding.
Absolutely. Constantly replaying past mistakes, predicting the worst. That trains your brain to live in fear and negativity. If you want peace, stop feeding your mind chaos. Journaling, meditation, silence, they cut the noise.
And this literally rewires the brain's chemistry.
It does. Your brain adapts to what it's repeatedly exposed to. Constant fast-paced content reduces focus capacity. Constant fear-mongering news makes your brain hyper-alert, anxious. You have to train it purposefully.
Even our words, what we say out loud.
Reinforces beliefs to ourselves. Keep saying, I'm so tired. Your brain believes it more strongly. Shift your language. Instead of, I'm tired, maybe I need to protect my energy. Make your words nutritious.
So the big takeaway is control isn't just internal.
It's hugely about what you surround your mind with. Take inventory. What's draining you externally? What needs cutting? What needs planting? Who you become next year depends a lot on what you feed your mind today.
Which leads perfectly into how we talk to ourselves, that inner voice again.
Yes, turning that inner critic into an inner coach. It's so critical.
The book asks that confronting question. If a stranger spoke to you the way you speak to yourself sometimes,
Would you be friends with them? Probably not. Our inner voice can be incredibly cruel, pointing out every flaw, predicting disaster, and it's loud because it's constant.
so this isn't about fake positivity.
Not at all. It's about reprogramming your mind through your words.
Yeah.
You're always listening to yourself. What you repeat, you reinforce.
And the science backs this up, neuroplasticity again.
Exactly. Your brain cares more about repetition than objective truth, in a way. Consistent self-talk literally creates new neural pathways. If you consistently say, I'm learning, I'm growing.
Your brain starts to wire that in as a core belief.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to access.
Precisely. So when you catch that thought, I always mess things up. The book says stop, reframe it. Okay, actually, I've gotten a lot right too. I made a mistake here, but it doesn't define me.
That's mental leadership, taking charge of the narrative.
It is. And that old belief that harsh self-criticism is necessary for growth.
The book says that's a myth.
A damaging one. Research from places like Stanford shows self-compassion leads to more resilience, better performance, quicker recovery from setbacks. Kindness is more effective than beating yourself up.
What about casual negative self-talk, like jokingly calling yourself an idiot?
The subconscious doesn't really get sarcasm, the book notes. Saying, I'm such an idiot, casually still reinforces that identity on some level. You have to raise the standard of how you speak to yourself. Protect that identity.
Because that internal voice is like your first coach.
Absolutely. If it's saying you're not ready, you hesitate. If it's saying, you've handled hard things before, you can handle this, you lean in. You get to choose your coach.
Is there a trick to creating distance from the negative voice?
One practical tip the book offers is giving it a funny name, like Worried Wendy or Judge Judy.
Personifying it.
Yeah, it creates distance, helps you separate you, the observer, from it, the negative thought pattern. It depersonalizes it.
Because it all starts there, doesn't it? Thoughts become beliefs.
Beliefs become behaviors, behaviors become patterns, patterns become your life. It all starts with the words you consistently feed yourself.
So another challenge for the next week, really watch your words. Catch the negative self-talk, interrupt it, replace it.
You're literally building a better brain for tomorrow, one that self-regulates, speaks life, fuels confidence.
Okay, we've covered so much groundwork. Now, the foundation for making any of this stick long-term, discipline over motivation.
Ah, yes, the bedrock.
We all know motivation, right? That initial thrill, the excitement.
The roller coaster,
Yeah.
fun while it lasts.
But totally unpredictable and fleeting. The book argues if your ability to do things depends on feeling motivated,
You're on a ride you don't control. It'll disappear just when you need it most.
whereas discipline.
Is different. It's not a feeling, it's a skill, a habit you build. It's about showing up, doing the work, whether you feel like it or not.
Motivation is the spark, discipline is the steady flame.
Beautifully put. Discipline keeps the fire burning long after the initial spark has faded.
And it's not about being perfect or rigid.
No, the book clarifies that. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about consistency. Doing a little bit, regularly, even just 5 minutes of exercise on a day, you feel zero motivation.
It keeps the habit alive, trains the brain.
Exactly. It reinforces the pattern of showing up.
Motivation often dies when goals feel too huge, right? Overwhelm sets in.
For sure. Discipline helps you break those huge goals down into tiny, manageable steps. It's about taking that one next step, even when you really don't want to.
And the book acknowledges discipline can be kind of boring.
It often is. It's the repetition of simple actions, day in, day out, like practicing scales on an instrument. But that very boredom is the foundation of mastery.
So how do you build that discipline muscle? Any strategies?
Several.
Yeah.
Create routines that reduce decision fatigue, like I work out at 7 a.m. It's just what happened.
Takes the daily decision out of it.
Set boundaries, say no to distractions, excuses, things not aligned with your goals, protect your mental energy,
Okay.
reframe your thinking. Instead of, ugh, I have to do this, shift to, I get to do this. This is an investment in my future self.
That's a powerful shift.
And track your progress visually. Use a calendar, an app. Seeing that streak build can be incredibly motivating for discipline itself.
What about when you slip up? Miss a day?
Totally normal, the book emphasizes. Don't spiral. Forgive yourself quickly, figure out what happened, learn from it, and recommit immediately. Tomorrow is a new day.
Planning the night before helps too.
Big time. Decide tonight what that first important task is tomorrow morning. Reduces morning resistance significantly.
And the idea that discipline kills creativity or spontaneity.
A total myth, according to the book. Discipline creates structure, which actually frees your mind for deeper flow, innovation, real creativity. Many great creators had incredibly strict routines.
Okay, final exercise from the audiobook then.
Pick one small habit, something directly linked to your biggest goal. Commit to doing it every single day, no matter what, for the next 30 days.
Just 30 days.
Watch how your brain starts to crave the routine, how the resistance fades. It's powerful.
Because the real secret to mastering your mind
Isn't waiting for motivation to strike. It's building that steady, unwavering discipline. That's how you win the long game. That's what makes the dreams possible.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot today.
We really have. It's been a deep dive into some incredibly practical strategies for really mastering your mind.
From understanding that inner voice, separating from it.
To seeing emotions as messengers, not masters. Breaking those mental loops.
Cultivating focus, harnessing the power of the pause.
Actively rewiring your brain, designing your environment, talking to yourself better.
And finally, grounding it all in discipline over motivation.
It's a continuous journey, of course. It's not a one-and-done thing.
No, definitely a practice. But that core truth the audiobook keeps returning to.
You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker, the awareness behind the thoughts.
You're the narrator of your life. You get to shape the story.
So what does all this really mean for you listening? If you can truly internalize this, embody this understanding that your mind is a tool, a powerful one, but a tool you can learn to use skillfully.
Instead of being subject to its whims.
Think of the potential you unlock. the capacity for real peace, for deep focus, for intentional, meaningful action, it becomes really limitless.
Thank you for your support and for listening.